movement, so that there's this idea of doubling in distance. There's the front of the space and the back of the space. Something funny about her dancing with her eyes closed? No? Is that funny? You. Hi. You. Yeah, is that funny? Oh, okay, I thought there was something funny was happening. See the two guys together at the end? One's crying, the other one's not. Can you see what's going on behind them? It's not in focus, right? Because the way the shot is set up, the director is trying to tell you that this is important and this is not. What's in front is important, what's in back is not. That's why in film, it's called the rack of focus, decreases as you move away from the picture plane. So these are some of the elements of composition, right? And like I said, you can't like make a picture or make a sculpture or make a painting or make anything and say, do I have all these things checked off? There we go, we've got a good picture. Some of these things are important in a variety of ways. Some of them are important in specific artworks. But we're just going to talk about them. And you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to look at examples of them. Because you're visual people, so it doesn't make sense for me to sit here and talk to you about harmony and not show you something that talks about visual harmony. Okay. Okay. This is a painting by Ida Appelbrug, this little one up here. We're going to see more work by her. This is Matisse. See how the way the shapes reiterate themselves? All these curved shapes. They start to create a nice rhythm in and out, around and through the picture. The same thing with the dance. You see the rhythm that's implied and the way the arms are linked together? Yes, Steve, I see it. Do you see it? Yeah, who doesn't see it? Anybody not see it? Okay, good. The way the head is like an almond, that's like a big almond, right? And all these almonds are moving around in circles. Isn't that neat? You know, they stop being people and they just start being shapes. And the reiterated shape becomes really, really interesting. This is Eva Hess, a sculptor. This is called repetition number 19. It's the same shape reiterated. But within the sameness of the shapes, there's also difference. This is Philip Guston. These are paintings he made after there were photographs released from Auschwitz of the piles of shoes. Yeah. So you have the skinny legs of the people and the heels of the shoes. Yeah. Creates a certain amount of harmony because you're seeing the same shape over and over again. Okay. This is David Hockney. Okay. See these sort of triangular shapes of the sprinklers and the way they move back in space? So it goes large, medium, small. And then the way the shape of that roof is an inverted shape of the sprinkler. So the shapes are starting to talk to each other formally in terms of how they're placed. And this is one of my favorite painters. This is Kehinde Wiley, with that filigree in the background. This painting is called The Three Graces. What he does, Kehinde goes he walks around New York and takes photographs of people, like just wearing hip-hop clothes or whatever, and then he poses them in old master positions and makes the paintings. So these are just three guys on the street of Brooklyn. And you see the way the filigree is behind up here and the way it comes forward here? So the pattern starts to engulf the players here. So making things the same is one way to create visual organization. The other way to do it is to make things different. And no one does that better than Andy. This is Andy Warhol, Marilyn Monroe. Each Marilyn, all these Marilyns look the same, but then when you start to look at them, you start to see how these are tweaked a little bit. They're a little bit crooked. And these are cut off. And there's a color change in between the two. So it adds some visual interest to the picture. This is Ellen Gallagher. What she has done, when I was a kid, when you would get Jet magazine, are there any black people in here? Any black people? You read Ebony or Jet magazine, right? And in the back there would be all those wig ads for like different Dynel wigs or whatever. What Ellen has done is she's taken all those ads, silk screened them onto paper, and cut the wigs out and replaced them with plasticine. So it makes this sort of wall, just like the Warhol, of this solid yellow up against the black and white, but also as you investigate closer, the variation becomes clear. Now this is another Philip Guston. Now this looks like, what is this? It's like a brick wall, right? Is that what it looks like? This is a brick wall, right here? and then there's some stuff on top of it. Look at the way the bricks are painted, right? Sort of black outline. And then look at these things. Look at what's outlined and what's not. So Guston is a very sophisticated painter in that he'll paint something in the dumbest way possible and put something really painted in a very slick, sophisticated way right next to it. So that variety in the way things are painted, that variety in the use of line as an organizing tool is very evident in these paintings. You know? See how this one isn't outlined? See that? Yeah, Steve, I see it. Okay. Thank you. This is Wayne Thiebaud. Pie. I love pie. This is like a Boston cream pie. And this is sweet potato pie. I don't know what this is. What is this? Cherry cheesecake. And then that's cherry pie. But you see that the way the directionality of the pies? The directionality of the pies. I'm never going to say that again. It just sounds stupid. Okay. But the pattern is set off by the variation in the placement and the angle of things. This is Balthus. This is Woman by a Window. This painting's in the Metropolitan in New York. The interesting thing about this is it's a young woman looking out a window. Look at this chair. The chair's not even painted. It's barely painted. There's just a few sketchy lines. But in the relationship of the overall picture, it looks really believable, right? Because you're focused on her. She's the subject, and then because of the way we see, we can't keep two things in focus at the same time. So when we focus on her, the chair starts to come into focus, right? And then when we focus on the chair just falls apart. So there's a hierarchy in the way of seeing that's expressed by the variety of the way things are painted. Okay, this is a Hans Memling painting up here. So the balance in a picture is, everyone thinks that balance means that the picture is boring. That's not what it means. It means that the elements in the picture are in a harmonious relationship, whether that be symmetrical or asymmetrical. This is another sacred conversation painting. This is Piero della Francesca. This is the guy who paid for the painting. And whenever you see this guy, I think his name is Montefiore, you always see him in profile because the other side of his face was blown off by a cannonball. So you always see him in profile. Who's that? Jesus. Jesus doesn't look like he's feeling very well, does he? Right? Look at that. Does that look like a happy, healthy baby? It doesn't, does it? He's dead. So Jesus in this position is prefiguring his position on Mary's lap when he's dead. You know, in the Pietà where they put her dead son on her lap, the Michelangelo Pietà. It's a prefiguring of that. Look at the balance, right? 5 people on one side, 5 people on the other. He is in front, so he's a little bit off center. The egg in the middle, symbolizing the purity of the Virgin. The vaulted ceiling, how everything sort of breaks up into these 2 elegant, discrete groups, right? This is Julie Heffernan, okay? American painter, she's still alive. This is a self-portrait. Open on one side, closed on the other. This sort of implied triangular shape in the middle. You know, you could cut the painting in half and it would be completely balanced. 2 more self-portraits by Julie Heffernan. The relationship between these trees behind her, the way the trees are framing her. And here, the way these globes are framing her. And this little group of birds flying at her feet here. I think that's so cool. These are big paintings. This is about the size that they are actually in real life. This is Damien Hirst. You guys have heard of Damien Hirst, right? He's the guy who made the skull covered in diamonds. Do you guys even read Art in America? No? How many people subscribe to Art Forum? How many people? 1. How many people read art magazines at all? Okay, every art magazine in the country is in the library every month. You have to read them. You have to. You have to read them. Everybody has to buy the Thursday New York Times because that's where all the articles about art are. You know, you're in art school. You can no longer afford to be ignorant of these things. Okay. This is Damien Hirst. This is an example of symmetry, right? and it's radial symmetry. You know what this is made of? Butterfly wings, right? Torn off butterflies and glued down with epoxy. Now, the butterfly wings are not round, but the support is round, and they're put in a way to emphasize the shape of the support. These are two more. They look like stained glass windows, but really they're butterflies in paint. Okay. This is Hans Memling. This painting is at the MFA. You can go over and see it. It's like, look at how symmetrical Jesus' face is. This is Jesus, all grown up. This is not Jesus, right? Is this guy ever going to get out of this box? He's trapped in the box, right? The frame of the picture is boxed him in. Jesus looks like he might get out. He's got his hand on the edge here. He might actually get out, right? Yeah. This guy ain't going nowhere, right? He's going to be in there forever. But the frame of the picture actually boxes. It creates a frame. It creates a physical frame around the experience of looking at the picture, right? These are photographs by Hiroshi Sugimoto. Two photographs, both of a place called the Boden Sea, B-O-D-E-N. Sort of horizontal symmetry, horizontal balance, equal in the top and in the bottom. How are we doing? Anybody falling asleep? No? Am I modulating my voice enough? Okay, good. I want to keep everybody awake. We're almost done, really. This is Alex Katz. He's able to give you an entire building with like 6 windows on a black frame. This painting is about 12 feet long and 7 feet high. It's huge. And the only thing that's painted is that little section right there where those windows are. It's asymmetrical balance. This is another example of asymmetrical balance. This is Ida Appelbrug. Can you wake up your friend? Hi. How are you? Just resting your eyes? Okay. Ida Appelbrug, right? No one knows. No one can see you. The lights are out. No one can see you. Wake up for the end, though, because the end is really good. The two paintings next to each other, balanced symmetrically, so they fold out like a book, but the composition within is asymmetrical. Okay? Okay, if you learn nothing else in your time at Mass Art, this woman is a genius. This is Mary Cassatt. She's better than Sargent, better than all of them. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. You know who knows more than you? Me. This woman is a genius because she's taken the sort of influence of Japanese prints and the organization of space and unfolded it. So instead of making traditional women's pictures, she's making pictures that talk about the power of femininity and also the power of balance. Look at how big that tea service is. That tea service would kill you if it fell on you, right? And the amount of visual weight it takes up. This is her sister. This is her aunt, right? This is her mother's tea service. Don't you kind of get the feeling that her mother was a pain in the ass? This overwhelming presence that would never go away? Don't you kind of get that feeling from the hugeness of that tea service? Yeah. We can talk about Sargent and Cassatt later, but I'm right, so it's okay. Okay, proportion, the relationship between the whole and the parts. There's a difference between the size of something and the scale of something, right? The size is like the amount of bigness it has, right? In this sort of Aristotelian way. Things have the quality of bigness or smallness, right? I'm big compared to like the baby Jesus in the painting. You know, this screen is big in relationship to me. Scale talks about the elements within the rectangle and how they relate to each other. The scale of these triangles here diminishes as you move away from the picture plane. The size of them changes as well, but the scale in relationship to each other also changes. Okay. This is Balthus again. This is a portrait of Andre Derain and his girlfriend. Which one is Andre? The big nasty one in the bathrobe, right? Hey. Yeah. He looks kind of like Tony Soprano a little bit. Wow. This is his girlfriend. She's smaller because she's less important. That's why she's smaller. Yeah. So the proportion of things. This film is called Brazil. Terry Gilliam.